those that celebration. Now, a little bit of the glimpse, if you are wondering why it is a public holiday, it's referred to as Festival of Sacrifice. It is celebrated by Muslims across the world to commemorate Prophet Ibrahim's devotion to Allah. The day of Eid al-Adha falls on the 10th day in the final 12th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, and Dhu al-Hijjah, the day of the celebration, fall on his independent and legitimate sighting of the moon, following the completion of the annual holy pilgrimage of Hajj. I don't understand what I've read, but in the meantime, I think I feel a glimpse of the touch on why we are celebrating this. So happy Eid al-Adha to all the Muslims out there, and of course happy celebrations and happy holidays, even as we create the divide and the space for the same. Ladies and gentlemen, watch our shows across YouTube and Facebook. Look Up Television, subscribe, follow us, and of course share our content in the best way possible. Now let's get back to business. My name is Moses Ketch and you're watching Morning Drift Artistic Thursday. Let's begin our conversation now. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Moses. How
Nice
are you?
to see you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here.
It's really an honor.
Thank you
and
so
because we were discussing about matters filmmaking and the entire criteria on understanding this filmmaking thing, I believe let's start from here, because now you are an established being, of course, in the filmmaking. Did you ever wanted to do this?
Crazy enough you've asked that, because I think, and I'm probably it's gonna relate to a lot of people, but I knew I had a passion for this when I was in my first year in high school.
Wow.
I used to find myself at 3 a.m. when everyone else is asleep. I would go watch the drama club as they do rehearsals for the events, you know, all that. And it got to a point where I couldn't sleep. I just wanted to be there, watch what they're doing. It kind of interested me a lot. So I think that's where, if I look back, I think that's where the vision started. Because since then, everything else has worked out for me towards the film industry, towards the creative industry, and so on. So basically, that was the origin of me wanting to.
All right. And I believe what you shared yesterday, of course, in regards to the works that you've done. Indeed, ukisema multidisciplinary, I understand where that is coming from. But in case now your views are here, Wilfred Maina is right here with us. You've heard his voice, and of course, he's a multidisciplinary filmmaker, producer, and creative consultant based right here in Nairobi, Kenya, with a strong background in visual storytelling. He blends artistic vision with a hands-on experience in film lesson, post-production, and creative direction. Currently serving as a business and sales development consultant at Comsafric. You worked with the Kenya Film Commission and High Energy Group. Offering strategic guidance and production expertise. He holds a BA in film and theater arts, and is a certified VFX and a post-production specialist. Wow, that's incredible bio right there.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. Now let's begin with theater. Then, because now we're in the bottom line of art, then now we come to filmmaking. In theater, we had a discussion earlier on, and so many people are coming out saying that theater, speaks a lot currently. How will you address that?
I think, first of all, I'd like to say theater is the origin of film. Theater is everything. Every actor you see on screen has been in a theater. Because that's where the whole vision starts. That's where you have a passion for acting. And I think sort of I was born in a different time where technology isn't as it is right now. So for us, the only way you could get into doing film was through theater, because that is where there was the space for it. Even before us, people who were before us, they used to go through the same channel. But now things have really changed. But I still maintain the aspect of theater is like the mother basis of film. It's like, as an actor especially, if you want to join the film industry, theater is the basis. And I think where we are headed right now, people are seeing the value of it. People are paying to go watch plays in theater. People are paying to go sit and watch even films. That whole theory comes from theater. So for me, theater is it's a powerful center. It's a powerful space for you to actualize and start your vision.
Of course, being the perfect space, was this the same view and the feeling that you wanted to start this? You began the passion from your first year. Then was it the same taste that you wanted to elevate it now in higher learning?
Crazy enough, I actually finished school. Then I went for my first interviews.
Wow.
And then there was a time I was at an audition, and the line had at least 300 people, you know, and I could see from them trying to rehearse and all, these guys were much better than me, you know. So I asked myself, is this what I want to do? Is this where I want to be? And I realized, because I went in for the audition, and the thing that caught my eye was the people who were seated behind the desk, the guys who were auditioning us, you know. I wanted to be there, you know, because I knew we can't all fit into the acting space. So you have to look for something specific and focus on that, because that is how you're going to be successful.
Of course. And success comes with a lot of things.
Exactly. So I interviewed some of the producers who were seated there after now the auditions, got to understand what it all involves about. And when I got home, did my own research, and that's how I got now into the other side of the camera. Yeah.
All right. So now let's now get to the filmmaking. What is this? What is this art in filmmaking, and you know, the elevation of understanding filmmaking across the divide? There's someone that wants to marvel in this, but the understanding in it ndo ni tafash kidogo. So what is filmmaking?
I think the basic definition of it, filmmaking is the process of creating anything involved around creating from start to finish, from pre-production, which is now the writing where you conceptualize your scripts, all the way to now editing it and distributing it. So that whole process, anyone who's involved in that process is a filmmaker. Okay, but then I keep telling this to people. It's very, for you to identify yourself as a filmmaker, you have to be very versatile in all fields in the industry.
In what context?
In the context of, for example, if I'm a producer, right? I am a producer, so if I want to do a film and I'm already writing, because I also write my own scripts, I need to understand what Netflix requires in terms of the quality of sound, you know. So I need to have a bit of knowledge on sound. I need to understand the quality of video Netflix wants, so I need to understand cinematography. So it sort of helps you a lot when you're versatile in all fields. You don't have to do everything, learn everything, and then focus on that thing that you're good at. For example, I'm an
amazing.
I learned that during, you know, trying to learn all these things. But before I started, I never knew I would be an editor, you know, because I started as a writer, I started as a creator. So I think it's just that you have to be willing to learn. I am at the point I am in my life right now. I know I don't know everything. I've met people who are way better than me, and I take the time to learn and understand their journey. And the one thing you'll always find constant, the journey to greatness is usually very similar with everyone. And I'm pretty sure even with you, if I ask you your journey, there are going to be some perks and similarities with my journey, because in the creative industry, you have to go through hills and tribulations for you to get where, and most of them are usually very similar. Yeah, so
all right. Well, what is the first thing that you wanted to do in the space of filmmaking that you felt like, hata kama naanza hii safari of filmmaking, there's an alignment, there's an element that I wanted to focus on. What is it?
I started out with creating, which is writing.
Nice.
Even, you know, now some of these aspects of it, of filmmaking, like cinematography, you need a camera, editing, you need a laptop. But now with creative writing or script writing, you only need your brain and a piece of paper and a pen, you know, and that is the easiest thing to do, because you don't need any resources. So I started with that. I wrote a few scripts, I pitched some of my scripts, but crazy enough, my first job, my first great job that I'm proud of saying it is on my CV, was an editing job.
Amazing.
You know, so when I got now into the industry officially, I knew, because there was only two options. Either I write, and you know, I look at an editor more of the same like the way I look at a writer, because an editor compiles everything to create that end story. A writer, in the other sense, creates the whole story from start to finish. So there's a lot of similarities there. So I knew either I'd write or I'll edit. So those were my two options.
And I appreciate the fact that you've been writing, because when I look at OVC Productions, which is your channel, you actually did All or Nothing. Muhammad Barisa, you know, and then across the divide, of course, there's Masaibu, your comrades, Majibu, the FIFA, something, Libra Divine, you know, that's a song, I suppose, right? Then you know, it's Kama Mimi.
I was on music video as well.
In the context of writing,
yes.
I'm seeing short films there,
yes.
which now Tija Wadeka introduced me to the List, which is a short film yes. that she's part of, and
yes.
of course there's What If short film. You know, that is the beginning of this writing.
That is the whole journey. And if you look at, okay, the reason some of those productions I would want to remove them, but the one thing I keep telling myself, it's a journey, right? if I look, if I look back at the first video I ever did, I tend to cringe a lot, but I understand. If you had told me at that point this is not good, exactly, I wouldn't have understood what you mean, because to me that was what I knew.
That was the best.
Exactly. So I leave them there because if you look at the last video I did was a documentary, right? So it's a journey, you know. It's a journey of learning and making mistakes. And this is what the industry entails. You have to make these mistakes. You have. For example, if I told you I want you to learn camera and I don't give you a camera, it's not going to be the same as if I give you a camera to learn, because you have hands-on experience. It's the same thing. You have to put yourself into that field for you to learn. Before
we get much further to film, there's this aspect on story writing and you telling stories visually, and of course it's coming at a point where you need to make sure the pen and the paper relate. So how has these stories you were writing impacted your storytelling?
A lot, especially now. When I finished school, I used to do my own personal projects a lot of writing, a lot of that. So when I started now working for people, when I started being a creative consultant, sales, business development consultant, the idea of always generating something fresh from your mind is something that I carried on to where I am right now. So even if I'm in a sales pitch table, I always have ideas that just pop up in my mind, you know, because of the process of always writing, anything that comes into mind, you scribble it down. That is the process. That is how you start. And I think it has played a key part in my life and me being where I am right now.
All right, we'll get to where you are now. Of course, when you're speaking about the OVC production, you as the CEO, you know, it happens a lot. So why did you make this film in the aspect of, you know, you've written these stories, but what was the message speaking to your audience and your engagement, since of course it's from your mind and you feel this, you want to write this. So what is the element of study when now you wanted the audience to feel a particular touch?
Okay, first thing I think I might say, there's nothing new under the sun, especially with stories. And the best way to tell a story is to write what you see in society. Okay, because you can never create something you've never heard or seen, because your mind works in a way that it kind of redefines different things that you've come across to give you that story. For example, this is how I come up with ideas. I might be seated and then probably in my balcony I see something happen, a confrontation, a small confrontation, but then my mind takes that confrontation and put
as a script.
Yes, what if questions now come into that story? What if instead of going this way it went this way? What if, you know, so it's just that you have to be willing to let your mind flow, you know. Even if the idea has been done before, write it down. Even if you've seen it before, even if it's someone tells you this script reminds me of a movie I've watched, don't mind that, because your mind cannot give you the exact copy of what you watch. It's gonna try to readjust it a bit to give it a bit of originality.
All right. Now when you're seated there, of course, we have the best actress right here, and you know, she's scrolling a very important comment right there, and then, you know, I believe, you know, in embracing this, and of course you're seated there, you know, as a storyteller, and as you write that story, also
let me add, I think the first step is, because, you know, I'm pretty sure you know this, but greatness comes when opportunity meets preparedness. That's when you become great. So if you put yourself in a position where you're always doing what you want to do, someone is going to take notice. I can assure you of that.
All right. That was talk to us about Ogiek at Crossroads. When I was watching, of course, there's the ambience in an African design where you tend to tell a story of a community. as we're shaping this, there are many stories that are told in the design of a documentary and documenting this. What was the inspiration in filmmaking to a documentary? Someone wants now to create that alignment.
I think that is also a very good question. Ogiek is one of my best documentaries. One, because it was very hectic in the context of the whole journey shooting. We had a lot of challenges. At some point, I remember we were taken into some parts of the forest where there was literally no network.
Indeed.
And we got rained on, we didn't have any shelter, we had to wait for the drive. So it was quite hectic, and I got to learn a lot. So the whole idea of Ogiek came from a friend I have. I have a friend who comes from that community. The population of the Ogiek is very small. So whenever we got to talk, and he'd tell me stories of his hometown, his history, the history of the Ogiek, how they used to live in the forest, I kind of got an interest. So I talked to a few people, a few friends. We also, the best thing about it is we were funded by the Kenya Film School, so which was a big deal for us.
Amazing.
We went, did the documentary. It was one hell of an experience.
Indeed.
It's an award-winning documentary. It has won human rights documentaries because the whole point was to address something that, and I know it's a bit of a tricky conversation, but we were trying to address something that the government has been avoiding all this time. The Ogiek want to be part of the conservation of the forest, but the government wants to restrict it because it's a forest. But then because they live there, according to them, they are the perfect people to take care of it because, first of all, the Ogiek, their major source of income is honey. They make honey and probably meat, So these trees that are being cut down is where they place most of the beehives. So they do protect. Actually, when we were there, a lot of tree planting was happening because it was the cold season. So I think I wanted to, raise their voices, put it on the wall. And crazy enough, after that documentary, they were hosted in the United Nations to just address their human rights and the challenges they are facing in regards to the government.
So siku film to kuchukua camera kushoot to
no.
You have to have the mindset, creating a solution through a well-driven story. Now create for us, what is this difference between now filmmaking? What is the misconception that is in filmmaking that perhaps you would really want to erase?
I think, and probably this might turn a few heads, but I don't look at filmmaking as content creation.
Okay.
I think these are two very different fields, and I think putting a bit of boundary on that is gonna, it's gonna put a lot of, because filmmakers are utterly feeling disrespected a lot, because the fact that you've done a film, it has costed you over 2 million in budget, then you go for an interview and they address you as a content creator. It's very, it kind of demoralizes you, So I think that is one thing I'd like to address. There's a big difference. If you're a content creator, doesn't mean you're a filmmaker. Filmmakers can be content creators because they have the skill, the production skill to be part of it. But I don't think people who are in front of the camera in content creation, those are actors. I don't look at it like that. But I also, not that I don't respect the field, I do very much. I think it's a very hard field. Creating short, because writing short films is the hardest thing to do.
Short film.
Yes, that is the.
Exactly.
Exactly. So because ukiona kurefu, you have time to build on it.
Every time.
At least make the audience understand where you're heading. But with a short film, you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to
package everything.
Exactly.
Of course. Exactly. Now we have 3 minutes, of course, to wind up the first session, and now the introductory to the art itself in filmmaking. So what are the things that we shape ourselves into to make sure that we adapt now to film? Unataka kujitosa sasa. How should a filmmaker package themselves to embrace sasa hiyo storia? If I'm holding a camera, if I'm a creative, a storyteller, ndio wakienda vile umesema tu, wakienda place flani, they don't regard him on that particular level, unaona jamaa ni filmmaker hatari.
I think the first thing, if you're a filmmaker, at least make sure you understand every aspect of film.
Okay.
First of all, I think what the biggest hindrance to our industry is lack of awareness in terms of film distribution. Most of us create scripts, do films, and then once we've shot and edited it. Now we are thinking of how do we distribute it.
Indeed.
At that point you've failed miserably, because it's very hard you've already spent your money, you've budgeted, you've done all that, but then now you're looking for distribution. You've already paid people. What if you don't get that distribution?
Of course.
So I think the one thing I'd like people to understand is you have to be versatile in every field of it. You know, even if you're a producer, at least know the ins and outs of, you know, that is, for me, that is how you'll, because you see, you'll go to a place, you've gone for an award, you're a writer, right? You go there and then the person who will have employed you tells you, we have a lot of writers right now, would you be willing to be an editor? If you're not versatile in this, exactly, utasema mimi editing sijui anything. The opportunity goes. Maybe if you knew a bit of editing, you would have held that position for a while.
Indeed.
And then when something better comes, you're just, so at least be versatile in every aspect of it.
All right. So there is a question on budget, and also there is a question on, you know, some of the embracing conversations in regards to your organizations and the filmmaking equipments that you use. But we having just 1 minute, of course, to wind up this session. And ladies and gentlemen, you're watching The Morning Drift right about now. It's 25 minutes past 9 a.m. As we take a short break, later on we'll come to discuss about now the alignment of these equipments, how to take shots, and of course embracing now that he has his own production, OVC, and how to build up, you know, as an amateur, you know, as you want to embrace this. So he is in a better position to advise us in the best way possible. So don't go too far. We'll be right back. This is the art in filmmaking industry, and above all, to go live on Lookup Digital. Go there, check it out.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Lookup TV.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi mazuri.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na Njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookup TV Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni Ukulima ni Mali.
Thank you so much. I believe now you're watching the Morning Drift right on time. It's 29 minutes past 9 a.m. Thank you so much for gladly staying tuned across the divide. Now we're embracing the art of filmmaking. Earlier on, of course, Wilfred has been, injecting some wisdom in filmmaking and its art. Now, in embracing, of course, all this, we have a couple of questions for us to ask in regards to what you've understood in the first session, and even as we embrace now the second session. What is the process for developing a film project, and what role of the film, and how does it work out in the best way possible, and understanding a director's vision, the collaboration between departments, and the challenges of working within constraints and working with people. While a videographer, they feel they know better than that. All right, so before we get to that, how do you get your equipment?
I think that is probably the hardest challenge that most filmmakers or creators have, access to gear.
Indeed.
And I think we're in a very good time, in terms of technology, because phones have become the it thing when shooting. Actually, there's a film that won an Oscar, and it was shot on an iPhone.
Amazing.
Yeah, so when I was starting out, let me start there, I used to do zero budget films. And when I say zero budget, I don't mean zero, literally zero. I mean you take care of your crew, sell them a vision, and then tell them, look, I don't have any money. Yes, but I will provide this and this and this to make your work easier. But then I don't have money to pay you what you're worth, Also, you have to understand, you have to respect people who are under you or people who work with you. Amazing. Because at least now you build, because in this industry you can't do it alone. You cannot do it alone. A production takes a minimum, let me put it at a minimum of 3 people.
Indeed.
Yes, because you need the actor, you need the camera, and you need the sound guy. The camera person can be the sound guy, but you definitely need an actor. Indeed. So that is just the whole process of it. You have to understand that. Yeah.
Okay, equipment. So actor is also an equipment. So you are now inviting now the issue on Cameras Africa, which everyone speaks about it across the divide, and everyone wants to nyinyi mmeweka jina nzuri kule nje bwana, and it's really amazing. And Dantimax, of course, is one of the pioneers. Wanataka machine zenyu sana, but now the problem is using upcoming every time. So do you hire equipments to young filmmakers, and what is the condition?
Yes.
Then what is the average budgeted amount for a good short film? We'll ask that later on. But can we handle now the equipment part of it, about Cameras Africa and what you do?
So Cameras Africa, maybe I give a bit of history, is sort of a camera shop that focuses on equipping storytellers.
Indeed.
So we ensure that we get every gear that is required to make or create content.
Amazing.
So we are always very stocked. We have a new branch in Rwanda. We've opened a new branch in Rwanda. We're opening 2 more in Uganda and Tanzania. But very good question. We are hiring out lenses at the moment. Still trying to build on it, because we also know availability of gears and how costly they are is a big challenge. So we are trying to see how we can incorporate hiring out of gears, especially to creators, filmmakers.
Indeed.
But for now, we are only hiring out Sony lenses. So if you're interested in hiring out a lens for wildlife, you want to shoot a film, you want a wide lens, a good wide lens with a good aperture, always visit our shops. We're located along Kenyatta Avenue near Salvo Stanley. We will sort you out.
So what do you look out for when you are seeing these people that want to hire these lenses or your equipment? Unaangalia nini?
I think first, I am in charge of that aspect. Amazing. Because I am sales and business development. So the business development aspect covers that. And I think first of all, we have to see the vision before anything else, because also in terms of just to be safe, because we are giving you a lens that's worth 250,000. Just to be safe, I need to know. Yes, no. But I need to know what you're doing. I need to see what you're doing. just don't tell me you want a lens and then give me the money and then that's it. You might take a bus and, you know,
go.
Exactly. So I need to see the vision first, and then after that, all I need is your ID and your KRA pin. That's all.
Why?
Because you see now, the KRA pin allows me to, basically, in case anything goes wrong, it allows me to know your location, where you live, where you've worked before. So it's kind of a security for me, you know, and the ID is also a part of a security for me. Yeah. The reason we added the KRA part is because IDs are easily replaceable, you know, but now the KRA pin allows me to get
so in short, kama una KRA tatizo
inaweza sumbua kidogo, but always you can come, we can see what to do about it. Yeah, but I think anyone
you are taking bodyguards.
Not really. Hopefully we don't need them, but we've not had any challenge because the people who hire out most of our gears, yes, and most of them are established production houses, you know. So it's someone, for example, Primary Pictures. I know that is Tosh Gitonga.
That means we might have a problem, of course, to the young filmmakers. Juu sasa hawako established, and I believe kuhire your equipments ni how much?
It depends with the one of, first of all, how long you're gonna hire it out, and then the value of that gear, you know. But to just address your point, we don't focus so much on experience. We focus so much on your vision. Because you see, for example, if I want to pitch and I don't have the money, whenever I'm on a pitch deck, for example, if I go to Showmax and I want to pitch, I put everything on the desk, you know, because I don't want whoever is funding me to have doubt. The moment I put doubt in their heads, that's it. So it's the same with us. Come, pitch to us, let's see the vision. We've given out to people who are doing short films. Students from ADMI come to our shops a lot of the time, students from KCA. So it's just that. Just, you know you're trustworthy. We will see through it. We will know if you seriously want to or you just...
okay. Genuineness. For an upcoming content creators, what are the selected equipments that we must have? And what do you consider the most preferable cinematic camera for shooting a Netflix film?
Oh, interesting.
And we'll get towards your favorite Kenyan film in the later minutes. Then why would one choose Cameras Africa and not any other equipment selling shop? How much will they hire a red camera? So those are actually 4 questions.
Yes.
You've noted?
Yes.
All right.
I'll start with the red camera. Unfortunately, we don't stock red cameras. Since we only stock cameras where we have partnerships with the manufacturers, you know. For example, we have a partnership with Sony, we have partnerships with Canon, Nikon, Fujifilm, all that, you know. So for red might be a bit tricky, you know. The second question was...
the second question was now upcoming content creators, selected equipment they must have.
Yes, I think one thing that I've come to realize in my small years of experience is that sound is the biggest advantage for your film. The moment your film has good sound, even if your video is not good quality, it will automatically be...
So sound in a speaker kwanza.
Sound should be the best thing in your film. Even before, you can shoot with your phone, but your sound has to be good. Because your sound will determine if I'll continue watching your film or I'll not. Because then, for example, if I'm watching a film, I'm trying to listen to dialogue, then I hear something pass or something that is louder than, you know, automatically my mind will switch off, you know. So sound is the most important thing in film. Yeah, for me.
All right. Then, we told Dantimax, of course, what do you consider the most preferable cinematic camera for shooting a Netflix film?
If you ask me, what I have at the moment, I use an FX30, which is a Netflix approved camera. It's a cinema line camera, but my dream camera would be the FX6, definitely. It goes for 650,000. It's a very expensive gear, but it's one of the best cinematic cameras you have. It's also Netflix approved, but if you're looking for something budget friendly, the Sony FX30 is the best. I have it personally. That's what I use to do my music videos and all my content.
All right. A question popped in. What softwares do you use to create mood boards and storyboards?
Personally, I use Storyboarder. That is the one I've been using for the longest because basically, you know, what you start with is once you perfect it, it becomes the perfect solution for you. So storyboarder is what I have used for the longest.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I think now we're getting now in the alignment of now OVC production and embracing that. Before we get to you know, the story na pesa hivi and you know, understanding whether the client is supposed to be overcharged or charge this, so how to amount this particular production. Let's begin this OVC production. You are the CEO and the founder, and you know, you're the vision around it. How did it come to life?
Obviously came to life when I was in, I think, my 4th year in high school. That's when I knew I needed to get into this. Even when I was doing my exams, I knew even if I managed to get into campus, this is what I'm going to pursue. I had already talked to my parents about it. They had a bit of worries because, you know, no one else had succeeded in this industry. But I managed to convince them. So I wanted to start a company, a production company. But then at that point, I was only a writer. I never knew anything else about production. So I started it as a production company that only writes scripts, you know, to pitch. Or if you want a script done, anytime, if you look at some of the projects I'm associated with, the writing, the credits part, in the writing section, it's not my name, it's the company's name. So when I was starting out, that was the whole idea, you know. Then I left school, met friends, you know, people who share the same passion. I told them I had an idea, they bought into it, and immediately we started doing content like the ones you were seeing, the Masaibu Comrades. We sat down, conceptualized, someone was interested in editing, another one was interested in sound. So we came together, and then that's when OVC started. Yeah.
And it's doing marvelous and tremendous in as far as filmmaking is concerned.
I have put it out there. First of all, I am part of the post-production. In post-production, I mean editing of the famous show Kina. So that is when I first put my name out there, you know, as OVC. So the things are working out well. So far so good, yeah.
All right, so far so good. I believe that's the question that Newton asked, right?
Yes.
In regards to the storyboards, and you answered it. So when now you're embracing this clientele that are coming for services and filmmaking services, I sometimes get a challenge when the client asks for a budget and my fee is undercharging or overcharging them. What should I consider when it comes to that?
Budgeting, I think one, you have to understand your value. That is one of the most important things. And then another thing is, I'm gonna say this because I've been there once. At some point in your life, you might be desperate, you know? You want to put your name out there, you want to work on something. Yes. But then the person who unataka akupatie hiyo kazi anakusumbua in terms of finances. At some point, you have to be willing to risk. You have to be willing to look at it from a point of, even if he's not paying me enough or she's not paying me enough, whatever I do with this will get me my next client. You know? So if I do a good job, even if the next client comes, I can tell them this is my previous work. Definitely, if they like it, they'll definitely get to the level I want them to pay, you know. But it's a very tricky question because I've been there, I've had those challenges. But now, also it comes with experience, because now there's some clients I don't take, you know, I just delegate. If you're telling me, yes, exactly, ukiniambia budget yako inakufinya kidogo na mimi naona haifiki mali nataka, I have people who nakutuma tu kwake and he'll deliver, yes,
because you understand your work.
Exactly, exactly. And that puts a lot of respect for your name out there. Mtu anajua akikuita ukuji mchezo hapa.
Indeed. See, anakuita na
anajua anakwambia wewe kuja tuongee hapa. Usijali, come tuongee.
How do you make sure that you don't risk? Yes, maybe anakupigia 100,000, but this 100,000 maybe ungeipata in a while, maybe December huko.
Good question. Good question. Because there was let me give you a funny story. There was a time I traveled all the way to Machakos for 7,000 Kenya shillings to shoot a video. It was sort of a meet and greet, you know. And the client was like, I don't have any money. And I hired that camera for 3,000.
So back in 4,000.
Yes, and then around 1,500 fare, kwenda na kurudi. And then food. So, you see, I knew this is not worth what I wanted, but I don't have anything else, you know. So why not work on this? And funny enough, that work, the 7,000 one, got me my next gig, which I did a video for 10 minutes, got me 50,000 shillings, you know. So it's a big jump. that is, you see, that is when I understood that it's a journey. You have to be willing to start.
Amazing.
And that is where the risk comes
Amazing.
in.
Wow, that is excellent. So usione ni pesa kidogo might open some doors.
You didn't have that money.
Did you edit it? The video?
No. I only shot. You see, now the thing is, there's a point where you're like, okay, I can't edit, but I'm willing to shoot, because my budget for the whole production from shooting to end was 25,000. But the client says, "Mimi hata 5K
fika bei."
Yeah. So you're just based off. For example, if you are going to do extra, reduce it a bit.
It did.
You know.
But I like the fact that you're seeing that job open doors for you, and to the young filmmakers, should tell them.
Being in those stages, you might need to and then like you're saying, you raise a really confidence. Hata kama ujui, confidence is heri hata sasa usipost, like you love faith. But when you're there, when you're in that space, at least let the client not be in doubt. Let the client not feel like, always be confident, even if you're not. For example, the first time I used a gimbal, I had never used it before. I used it on a gig, and when I was heading to the gig, I was looking at how to use a gimbal, how to set it up, and the clients never knew I had never used a gimbal. So you have to, exactly. Never say no to a job because you don't know how to do it. You can learn on that job.
All right. So, which is the highest paying role in filmmaking?
Good. That's very interesting. I think when you say highest, you also have to look at what it takes from you. For example, if you ask me, I think when I was editing, that was one of the best years in my life, because I used to just be paid working from home, editing, and then sending. I don't even have to move from where I am. But for example, if you're a cinematographer, you have to be at set at 4 a.m. and leave set at 11 p.m. Yes, you're paid the most, but most of your time is lost. So it depends, but I would say in the different fields I've been in, editing was the one that paid me the most. I used to earn at least 100 for editing 4 episodes in a month.
100,000?
Yes.
All right. So for a young filmmaker, junior filmmaker, what is the highest paying? They should venture into. Instead of
I think for versatility, camera, because cameras, you can do anything. You can do photography, and you can do, you can do different fields. You can do a wedding today, you can do this tomorrow. Okay. But if you're doing sound, let's remove photography first.
All right.
You have to understand that.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges you've embraced now, leave alone the entire time you've been in the industry?
Yeah.
But now let's embrace now OVC production. It's it's a kampuni.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you've come across?
I think my biggest challenge so far is there's a lot of, let me put it as gatekeeping. There are people who are agents. For example, there's someone, if you want to pitch to Netflix, there's someone you have to see, a specific person. Yes. Story yako imeishia hapo, and they're not the people giving you the money. They're just like an agent. So yeah, akisha discourage, you might end up, But I think that has been the hardest part for me, the gatekeeping aspect of it. Also, I think now I don't think this is a problem, but before it was. I think lack of awareness in terms of where to get funding, grants. There is over 5 different NGOs, non-profits, that their main job is to fund creatives.
Amazing.
There is an aspect of government, their main job is, it's a fund, their main job is to fund creative.
Indeed.
So being aware of these instances helps you a lot.
Amazing. All right. It helps a lot. Do you think with the rise of the digital space and the encounters in technology, there's the aspect of artificial intelligence which is coming, hakuna haja to kwa ground, so you can, most probably when you're shooting something and it's supposed to air and blah blah blah, there's the aspect on si tutachukua tu combine manini za watu, then we have this mbona ukuje to shoot. How does that?
It's very interesting you say that, because yesterday I watched something on Instagram. It's the new Google AI module. So someone created characters, Kenyan characters, speaking Sheng in now Egypt. Apparently it's when they were building the pyramids. Yes, but now those workers are speaking Sheng and Swahili. Basically they are Kenyans, and it looks so real to a point I was confused for a minute. So I think where we're headed this might work in two ways, you know. If you look at it from the point of it's gonna take over your work, it will. But if you look at it from a point of it's here to serve me, it will serve you. For example, you might have a film that's a very high budget. You're just starting out. You can't go and tell Netflix to give you 3 million. They won't do that. So why not try, create scenes, you know, attach them, use the Google AI module, do different scenes, attach them, start posting such kind of content, and then you'll start getting, you know, exposure, and it might end up getting funding. So use AI to help you, not as a competition.
Very dependent na sana.
And don't be too dependent on it as well.
Kabisa.
Because it limit. But
creativity utachoka tu kutengeneza.
The reason I was addressing that is because I know a lot of people are starting out and budget is an issue. Another thing, I have friends who are still in campus. They have actually joined campus, but because they are aware of the different NGOs out there for film, they're already being funded to shoot with phones. You know, you're being given 100,000 to go and shoot a 5-minute film. You know, so just be aware of this. For example, there's DocuBox, there's Have a Fund, there is Kenya Film Commission, there's the Sports Fund, which is also the Creative Fund.
Indeed.
All this allow you to get funding for your film. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking about competition, how do you handle criticism? Obviously, we should tackle this. So in the spaces of filmmakers handling their, you engage with these people, and then there's so much kila mtu anataka kuwa creative so now that they also want to be filmmakers. How will you create a sense of yako ni noma sana, and how do you engage with competition as per se?
I think criticism is the defining moment or the defining point for you as a filmmaker to understand there's what my audience wants. You know? At the end of the day, you're not making the film for yourself, you're making the film for your audience. So for me personally, I take criticism with a good heart. I take criticism from a point of this person thinks I can do better. So meaning this production has not surpassed there. So next time I'm doing a different production, I'll be like, okay, why didn't they like this? Can we change this and that? So criticism gives you something you didn't see yourself because you're the one who wrote it. For example, if I write a script, I don't just shoot it immediately. I give it to different writers. Some of them we're not friends. So even if they give me negative, I don't take everything. I take what I feel builds my story, you know. And that criticism is what builds you as a person, makes you resilient. And filmmakers are very emotional. Filmmakers are very emotional, by the way. Ukimwambia content yake iko chini, they take it, you know. But it happens, you know, it's your baby. It's something you've created from your mind. But also, just look at it from a point of, this is your audience. Probably, isi kitu yeye anapenda. But there's for example, there are people who still watch, I don't want to probably hate on anyone, but there are people who watch these shows about maids falling in love with, you know, the rich boy. There are people who love that, you know. I don't watch such kind of films. So just understanding who your audience is makes things so much better.
Really? Yeah. Kama unatengeneza za watoto pia, acknowledge that.
Exactly.
Now as we come to the bottom line of the conversation, I want to give you two obligations. You know, maybe three, because I wanted to know what's obviously in full. Then now the two obligations is, there's a filmmaker out there and maybe they are here and they want to, you know, get into that space fully. That is one. Two, there's one that now, not just a filmmaker, but also wants to be a CEO, starts a particular kama hiyo yako tu sasa. What will they do? What are the startups? What are the things that they should consider before embracing that?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to have the idea.
Okay.
You have to call yourself a CEO even before you're a CEO. That's how I started.
Amazing.
Even before the name was registered and all that, before I went through the right legal process, people already knew me as obviously.
There's a legal process.
There is a legal process. You have to register your company. You have to file returns every year. So there is a process involved in that. Because then if you don't do that, when you go to get grants, they ask you for a KRA certificate. You don't have that.
Indeed.
So it kind of becomes a challenge.
All right.
Yeah.
Hapo kwa legal process.
Yeah.
Niliona something that is trending and we are supposed to accommodate this. There's this story. If you are out there and you're a creator, una shoot tu watu, then it might have a problem in the data protection. You saw it.
Yes, it's a big deal.
But it hasn't been processed.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for public
participation.
Something, yeah. So to tetei stuff.
Yeah.
What will be your just a short take about that, because are left with 2 minutes.
When I used to work at Kenya Film Commission, you know how government is with data. The one way we used to solve that is print a banner. You know, when you have an event, just put it at the entrance, saying, please note, once you enter these premises, pictures and videos will be taken. If you don't have a problem with that, kindly consult management or.
Streets.
That is now a tricky part, because you see wase wengi hata kama wase wengi wenye wanapigwa hizo picha hawajui story ya data protection. So yeye anaweza kuwa unapita mtu akupige picha na uingie na post, lakini wewe ujui you have a right to sue this person.
Yeah, itakuwa ngori in the next few years.
Yes.
Allow us to wind up this session. When we want to get your services, we want to get you, we want to have a conversation. How can we do that?
Yes,
and also give some shout outs.
Oh, definitely. You can reach out to me on either LinkedIn at Njoroge Maina or Instagram at Njoro_OVC. I'm not on Facebook, but or you can also call me on 0762475009. I do music videos. I actually have done a music video for Breeder, the artist.
Amazing.
I do a lot of music videos. I do creative consulting. I write scripts. I conceptualize ideas. Yeah, so you can always reach me on my Instagram, Njoro_OVC, or on LinkedIn at Njoroge Maina_.
Yes. Thank you so much, Njoroge Maina, Wilfred, for honoring the invite.
Yes.
Na pia big shout out to Tija, of course, is a producer. She's a producer. Asante sana, ni mnoma sana. That's a good one. So Kenyan author prosecuted for writing a book about president's daughter. I wish you commented about that, but of course it's in the limelight of all this. Now Wilfred amplifies authentic voices, sparks change, and crafts vivid stories on the canvas of film. So go watch what OVC does across all social media platforms. It is 55 minutes past 9 a.m. and that's that we've concluded this session, and it is humbly a celebration with the Morning Drift department and the team that has been here with us. Of course, just happy Eid al-Adha for those Muslims out there, and let us have a marvelous and successful holiday even as we get to the bottom line of the weekend. Thank you so much, Hamida, Michelle, and Newton right here for embracing this filmmaking, and thank you so much, Kamithe, Target, as well as Thomas, for ensuring that all this is articulated in the best way possible. And above all, King Dantimax, Shukran Zadati. Happy holidays. My name is Moses Kitch. This is the Morning Drift.